Yeah, so I've lost $310,000 last week. Most of it was from crypto, but I did lose $80,000 in Forex. So I'm going to show you guys all of this right here. This is in Forex last week. So before I had this last win of almost 100 grand, I was down like almost 200 grand in Forex. But with the swaps and commissions last week, I'm down just 80,000. Just 80,000. I'm quite happy about that. The risk was managed well. We've got a lot of good opportunities coming this next week, so it's just a part of the game. I risk about $50,000 per trade, up to $100,000 per trade right now. This last trade was $100,000 risk. This is what actually made back more than half the losses from last week after just consecutive losing trades. But I just buy and sell at simple support resistance levels, and I put my stop past them and I target at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So trades like this is 100K risk. So how much am I down? You can call it 1 unit of risk, or maybe like half of a unit of risk, or maybe 2 units, like something in there. So this is not being down 80K. It's a lot of money in terms of dollar amount. But remember, I'm risking like 50, 75, $100,000 per trade right now. So I lost maybe around 1R this week. It's okay. If I come out in profit 50K to 100K next week, then I'll be in profit, 1R or 2R. So it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to break down these trades and why I got into them and everything that happened. And then we can kind of have a little bit closer of a look. I'm also going to show you crypto. Crypto is just not doing too hot. I was up to, my portfolio was almost to 1.6 million, but now it's down to, at the lows, it was 1.3 million. It's 1.362. So, from the peak of where it was at this week up until right now, I'm down like about $230,000. So I think 230 plus 80, that's about $310,000. So that's how much I am down this week. So yeah, let's go ahead. I want to talk about I'm going to talk about Forex first, and then we'll talk about crypto, and I'm just going to get straight into the point. So a couple trades this week. The main one that resulted in most of the losses was GBP NZD. Now, what did I do? I sold here at resistance when price got there, and then I added when price broke. It got a little bit further into the zone. I added. So my first entry was down here. Second one was up here. I put my stop just past the zone, and I put my target here to 1-to-1. So I closed this just before the stop loss, and I'll actually go show you here. This is a private group where I call my trades in Discord. I'm not going to give you the link to this. I'll give you the link to the Telegram channel, though. I'll put that in the description of the pinned comment. There's like 50,000 people who follow my trades in here. And if you want to just kind of follow my analysis, like I literally just show everything. I show the ups and the downs. I'm not somebody who just shows all my winners and then doesn't talk about the losses. I try to keep it realistic for you guys. So if you appreciate that, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment. You can just join my free Telegram channel. But here in my actual Discord group, I have this right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So I was down, like $170,000 at one point this week before we had the big winner on that last one. But GBP NZD, this was what the trade looked like. So I'd gotten into it. Sells up here at the zone, and then I added, and then I ended up putting a stop just above the recent zone, so that way if it broke above, I would take a smaller loss after I added to it. So I actually controlled risk a lot better on this one than I could have, than it would have been, because this would have been, like I closed it at a 40K loss. I avoided a $100,000 loss on GBP NZD just because I managed it by closing it early. So, but the trade basically looks something like this. I closed before the stop loss, and I lost 40K instead of 100K. That was the main kicker this week. Now, you'll also see there's a couple other trades in here. There was multiple tries on GBP NZD. The first layer was just me getting into it and then setting break-even stops, came back for break-even on a bunch of the positions. Then I exited, re-entered for the second try, and then that resulted in most of the loss. So cumulative, right, 50 plus 6, so maybe like $65,000, $70,000 of loss on that. Then we had AUD JPY and USD CAD. So let's talk about both of those. So AUD JPY was a trade where I thought price was effectively just going to be going down. So what I did is I sold with a stop above the zone and a target below. And this is exactly how I structured it. So looks like AUD JPY did end up going down. But what happened here is as price was going down, we were coming into this zone repeatedly. I was looking at the daily and the weekly candle on this because when it was open, like it looks like it even closed with a weekly rejection, which is nice. But when this candle was open, price was pushing down really hardcore back past these highs. So what I thought was going to happen on like the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, I thought that price was going to break through this zone, and it ended up doing it. Like eventually we got that breakthrough. But what I did is, just to control risk, I risked a smaller amount than I normally risk on this. So I risked 30K. And then I liked to just put the stop just above the recent highs, right? Because I was trying to like just catch the breakout if it happened right there. So what happened is my stop was above there. My target was down here, I think at the next low. So it was about a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio. Actually, in my Discord, whenever I called it, this is what it looked like. So let us see where that goes. GBP NZD is playing cat and mouse. So here it is, 80 JPY. So I posted this here. I'm short 80 JPY, 30K risk for a 60K profit. And this is what it looked like. So as you can see, the entries right there, this is what it looks like on the weekly, right? Again, keep in mind, I use like the daily and the 4 hour on this as well. But I just entered a sell thinking it was going to break down through the zone just based on how crazy this wick was rejecting. Like this is super, it's like a big, huge bearish wick. I just thought it was going to reject that zone. So I got short, I risked 30K. And then as it started popping up, I ended up closing it right there. And that represented a $20,000 loss. About 2/3 of the way to the stop loss. So it just didn't work. Now, after the fact, yeah, it ended up dumping down. It would have been a nice little 60K profit. And so if I had got this 60K profit, I would have ended up this week. Not only would I have not lost the 20K, but I would have actually made 60K. So my account would have been net 80K, which means I would have broken even this week. So that's kind of funny. Like like say my stop was up here and my target was down here at 1-to-2, like if something as silly as this had happened, then the week would have actually been like a net break even, which is kind of crazy considering how much I'm risking. But still, with the week, I accept it's down 80K in Forex. You know, I've still taken the loss, and it is what it is, and I'm down 1R, 2R, however much you want to do it, depending on what you calculate as my unit of risk. So that was that, 80 JPY, and it is what it is. Now, the other one was USD CAD. This was the final one that was kind of a big loss. And the way we had here on USD CAD is price came up here into this resistance zone. I was holding this trade for maybe about a week, I think. This was about a week, about a trading week. So when price got up here into this resistance zone, I entered a sell. My stop loss was above the zone, and my target was at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So it looked more or less like this, right? Something like that. And it ended up going up, and then it hit stop. So let us go back and see what this looked like. So it was right here, USD CAD friends. I put a little audio message breaking it down here in my group. But you can see I did the same thing I always do. I entered sells, and if it breaks above, it hits the stop, and if it bounces, then it hits the take profit, and we're off to the races. So USD CAD didn't work out. It broke above, and it stopped out. It is what it is. There's nothing I would have done differently on this trade. I added a little bit of additional risk. I started out with 50K risk. I added 25K risk. So if it would have gone to the profit target, I would have made $130,000 on this trade. But instead, I lost, however much it was, like 75,000. So pretty much $80,000 on that trade. So now let's cover the last one, which was a nice little easy, clean trade, Euro AUD. This one took like less than a day to play out. So look, I called this yesterday at 2 a.m. There's a couple reasons why I was up at 2 a.m. I'll talk about that on my main channel, the other YouTube channel I have with like 190,000 subscribers right now. But anyway, so I called this trade at 2 a.m. and I entered a sell right here along the highs with a stop above and a target below, just like I always do. I want to point out that there's literally no real significant radical difference between this trade and any of the other trades I've taken this week or the past few months. It's a sell at a resistance zone with a stop above it and a take profit at about 1-to-1. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more, sometimes I'll close early, but for all intents and purposes, it's about 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. And that's all. That's all I did. That's literally it. And what happened? I got short 80. So this was from like 2 a.m. until about maybe, when did I close it? Like 2:45 p.m. So it took a little over 12 hours for this trade to come to fruition, right? It took about 13 hours or so. And I ended up closing it. So this just, what happened within 12 hours, and technically 13 hours, it just bounced off the resistance zone, came into profit. And since it was so close to the profit target, and since I didn't want to run the risk of holding it over the weekend and like dealing with swap fees and market gaps and spreads when the market opens on Sunday here in Texas, I just decided it'd be a better idea to close the trade. And so I was like, I'm closing the Euro AUD trade here. She's over 90% of the way to the TP. No sense in holding for hopefully a tiny amount more profit over the weekend with small fees and gaps. But again, remember, all I did was I just sold at a resistance zone with a stop above and a target below, with a little bit of dynamic management, right? Just closing before the weekend. I don't always close before the weekend, but if a trade is really close to the stop loss or it's really close to the profit target, normally what I'll do is I'll elect to just close the trade and get out. Like, there's no sense in staying, because if you hold, like, it's probably going to continue to stop loss, right? Even just on spreads and gaps when the market opens, if it's near the stop loss that market closes. But also if it's close to the profit target, you could run the risk of the market gapping back up, and I don't. That's not a good risk reward in my opinion. It's not worth the risk. So generally, if price is like really close to the stop or the target, whenever I'm in a trade, I will generally hold a trade over the weekend. And if it's just kind of developing and it's like, third of the way, halfway to the stop or target, normally I'll just leave it if it's a swing trade. So it's kind of a little dynamic way of doing it there. So that's your AUD. So these resulted in all of these, and my week is down 80K. So we'll just say on average, since I risk 50 to 100K, I risk 75K per week, per trade on average. So let's just say 75K, I'm down 80K. I'm down about 1 unit of R in Forex this week. And I only come out on top in profit every month, anywhere from 2 to 3 R the past few months. So that's, we're going to see how this month ends up playing out. We're halfway through this month. So, let's just see how it keeps going. I'm not, I don't win every trade. I don't win every week, but it's just a part of trading. So it is what it is. Now let's go talk about crypto. We have a lot of people saying that everything's really, really bearish, right? So when we go to CoinMarketCap right here, we go to the fear and greed index. We're at the 25, which is every single time in the past, the fear has been this low in the market, because before I enter my crypto trades, I like to wait for the fear in the market before entering. I'm just playing. It's one of those things where extreme greed and extreme fear generally produces market tops and market bottoms, right? Now, it's not exact. It's not an exact science. But let me talk to you about crypto for a second, in the sense that whenever we have an all-time high, when crypto is about to go into a bear market, usually things are euphoric. Everyone is feeling so greedy. Everyone's saying like it's going to keep going like crazy. It's just not stopping. Like, this is the kind of euphoria and market sentiment we have then. That is when usually a top gets put in, right? Because I've been trading Forex and crypto stocks for like the past decade, and I've made millions of dollars doing this in all these different markets. And I've seen the same thing happen over and over again. People are not complaining and getting upset and calling a bear market when things crash, right? If it was major euphoria right now, and then the market top was really about to be actually in, what you would be doing is you'd be seeing everyone saying, buy the dip, 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 buy the dip. We're in a crazy bull market. Things are amazing. There's like all this euphoria, right? It's like a whole like vibe and sentiment you get from the crypto community, other traders, people posting what they're doing online on YouTube and X and social media. And what I see right now is I don't see any of that. I don't see any of the euphoria. As a matter of fact, I see everybody just like depressed and panic selling and doing all sorts of really weird stuff. And I recognize this as a time when others are being fearful. Now, a lot of you guys know this little stupid quote that Warren Buffett said, which is actually really useful. Warren Buffett said, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. So, be greedy when others are fearful. Right now, my friends, other people are fearful AF. Literally the crypto fear and greed index on CoinMarketCap is like at one of the lowest we've seen. The last time it was this low was in March and April of this past year. Now let's go back to the Bitcoin chart and let's look at what happened in March and April of this year whenever people were really fearful and greedy. So this right here, this is March. So that's March of this past year. And this is April, as we go to April. So March and April of when people were the most fearful and the most like freaking out and panic selling and stuff like that, that is when we had essentially Bitcoin do a 2x, right? Bitcoin grew like 100% in that time period. So if we just run it from top to bottom, wait, what am I looking at here? Am I looking at the right chart? Yeah, 74,000 to like 124,000. I don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah, so it made a 66% gain. Excuse me, not a 2x. What the hell? So Yeah, so Bitcoin made a nice little gain after that, right? That's a huge, 66% of its value increased right after that at the lowest point. Now, also, just to show you the opposite, right? This is when Trump got elected. So back in November, after he got elected and then November continued on last year, you can see we were at like just one of the all-time highs of like extreme greed. The index was like 87, 88, almost hit 90 at one point. So at that point, look at this right here. That is November, right? Where's November on the chart? Like right here. So that's the end of November where crypto fear and greed was at its highest. Okay, so right here. Look at what happened right after that. Okay, price was up there, tried to come down, tried to pop back up as we get into January. And then we had Bitcoin lose 31% of its value. I'm not saying the crypto, coin market cap fear and greed index is like, the holy grail or anything. I'm just saying as a general theme, when you look around and others are being very, very greedy, things might be about to drop. If it's a big asset like the S&P 500, or if it's like gold right now, I think there's going to be a huge drop on gold. Or if it's like Bitcoin, right? When everyone is just saying like, oh, it's going to do nothing but go up, right? Because it's already gone up so much. That's generally a time where you might want to start just pulling positions off and selling portions of your position and kind of being very careful. In times like right now, when you have the fear and greed index being 25, right? Like almost as low as we were, literally as low as we were like back in March and April this year. There's not really much better of a time to buy. Now, I want to say that with this caveat, trading and investing is risky and most people lose money. You shouldn't listen to what I'm saying. You should go get a job at McDonald's because statistically speaking, you'll be likely to make more than 90% of traders doing that. But for those of you that actually want, my realistic input into this is I could still be wrong, right? Everybody who's buying right now could still be wrong. These crypto tokens that I'm in, like Solana, for example, Solana could crash another 50%, like down here to $90. And I could lose, just do the math, 50% of my $500,000 position. I'd lose $275,000. That's just on Solana. That doesn't even count all the other cryptos, right? So I could easily lose, let's say, around another 800,000 to maybe $1 million in crypto because I still have some Bitcoin on ledgers and cold wallets and exchanges. So I could lose like maybe a little over $1 million if I'm wrong about this and things continue to crash. And I accept that risk. Because the upside, we already talked about this in the last video, I think the upside is more likely, and I've also positioned myself in such a way where I'm not all invested in altcoins. I've still retained a lot of my crypto in Bitcoin. I don't have any Ethereum right now, but it's mainly just Bitcoin and like other exchanges, cold wallets, and also like wallets here on my computer on the websites and stuff. And so if it keeps going up, I have just enough exposure to Bitcoin to profit from it. And I also have some exposure to alts, right? Right now I've got 1.36 million worth of alts just in spot. And these are just all speculative positions that are trading. So all the info is here, the average entry, how much I'm up or down on I'm down on all of them. So how much I'm down. And so all of it's right here. I do think though right now is the best time to buy, and I accept if I'm wrong because that's a part of trading. Like if I lose like $1 million because I'm wrong about this, then that's okay, in my opinion, because it's worth the risk. The alternative is to sit here and do nothing and then miss what might be one of the greatest bull runs of crypto history, right? Because we literally just had the worst crash in crypto history with more liquidity leaving the crypto markets in a few hours than ever seen before, like certainly since I've been trading, and it might be in crypto history. But that type of market behavior and then the type of sentiment I'm seeing from other people who are watching crypto right now, it just looks so obvious that it's like, okay, yeah, this is like a reasonable time to buy. Like in a sense that like it's worth a shot to buy. I think the likelihood is significantly above 50% that we're going to move upwards from here, even if we see another little downturn, which we kind of have. When we go back here and look at these charts, we're looking at price. I mean, just this past week alone, right? Solana had popped up actually in profit for me. So off the low, 21%. And from my position average, which is this purple line, I made a whole video about this. It was up 6%, right? So I was up in, 60, 70, 30, $40,000 of profit or something. So now it's down, right? So now we've come back down to the low where Solana was. When we go to the other tokens I'm in, Uniswap looks like it's trying to go and shoot for that low. Could be another 15% down. Avalanche looks like it could probably go and hit that low, another 15%. So I'm not saying that things aren't going to get worse before they get better, because they certainly could. Some of these, like Cardano, has already crossed its previous low. Then it had a nice little bounce there. Algorand, Sui, and Bitcoin, which actually just crossed its low. So yeah, I'm not saying things can't get worse before they get better. All I'm saying is risk adjusted right now seems like it's like a reasonable time to buy if you have the additional cash. It certainly does not seem like the time to sell, in my opinion. And it certainly does seem like it's a good time to buy if you have the additional cash and you're like not going to get in a weird financial position by buying. So those are my opinions on crypto right now. So as I sit down $230,000 this week, at least on my spot holdings here in crypto for the altcoins, I think it's just never been a better time to buy. I bought last week as all these were going down, and I think that long term we're going to be good on all these positions. And if I'm wrong, I accept my fate. So that is a little recap here of my Forex results and my crypto results this week. And I hope this was helpful. If it was, I don't know, you don't have to hit the like button. If you don't want, you don't have to comment. But if you do want help, like just learning how to trade for free, just join my Telegram channel. Like it's fun. I post stuff in there every day. You can just follow along and you can learn there for free. I have paid products, but I won't even talk about them in YouTube anymore, at least for the time being. I'll post them in my Telegram channel from time to time. So that way, if you want to get more help from me and my team, just follow the Telegram, and every now and then I'll post something in there about how you can work with us. But I really just want to provide a lot of like free value and focus more on that and not like push my products so hard, because I've done that for years and it's worked really well in my business. But I think, I'm trying something now where I'm just going to give out everything for free and essentially just like not be so persistent about it. Hey, join my group, come pay me to learn from me. If you want to, you can. I'll post stuff here and there about it, but it's not going to be at the forefront. The forefront of what I'm doing here on YouTube and in my Telegram channel is to help you. I want the content to be useful. I want it to be stuff that you can actually unpack in a way that is useful and has like tangible benefits for helping you get profitable in trading. And the only way I can do that is if I just give till it hurts and ask for nothing in return. Except for following my Telegram channel if you want to learn, because you have to be in there if you want to follow the day-to-day. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers, my friend. If you made it here to the end of the video, put the number 69 somewhere in your comment below so I know you made it to the end, and I'll engage with you the first 24 hours. See ya.